How can you be the best blue belt you can possibly be? Because it's a very simple and flat answer. Okay guys, Bernardo Faria here. Guys, today I have one question here from one user. That's a very interesting question because it's straight to the point. What tips would you give to a blue belt who doesn't want to be an ordinary blue belt, but a monster blue belt? Okay, so sounds like he wants to become the best blue belt ever. He wants to become a monster blue belt. It's a very simple and flat answer. Just train as much as you can. When I mean train as much as you can, I would also say like be honest to yourself about how much you are training. I see a lot of people that they say like, oh, I train 3 times per day. And then when you see they training, they're not going very hard, you know, like that's why like, many times when I see people saying like, oh, I train 4 times per day, I normally try to figure out with which intensity they train those 4 times per day. If you train like twice a day, and you go all in and you go as hard as you can, you should be feeling exhausted at the end of the day to the point that there's almost like no way to do anything else. So for example, just to share some experience here, the time that I trained the most in my life was probably when I was living in Sao Paulo and I was like 23, 24 years old. And I was training like on average 13 times per week. So it was almost like jiu-jitsu twice a day and sometimes physical conditioning, sometimes judo, sometimes physical conditioning. So it was pretty much like jiu-jitsu twice a day plus conditioning or plus judo. And I was not able to do that for a very long time. So I remember that when I was living in New York City, for example, training at Marcelo's, at some point when I arrived there, I was training like 11 or 12 times per week. And then at some point I started training like 11, then 10. I remember that the year that I stopped competing in 2017, I was already like 30 years old by then. I was training on average like 9 times per week, you know, like twice a day. Then on Wednesday, I would just train once. Then Thursday and Friday, I would do twice a day again. And then I would rest Saturday and Sunday, or maybe on Friday I would just do one training and Saturday I would do another training. But anyways, my question here is very flat. It's like try to train as much as you can and try to be consistent with the schedule that you create. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see people doing in jiu-jitsu is like they say like, oh, I'm gonna train 3 times per day. And then after 2 weeks, they stop training 3 times per day or whatever the amount of frequency they said, you know, like. Or maybe like, I'm gonna train, maybe it's a hobbyist who has a 9-to-5 job and that. Oh, I'm gonna train jiu-jitsu every single day. And then they do that for a month. And then next month they're training twice a week. And then they don't come for a week and things like that. So my suggestion here is like, create a schedule that you can commit and then be consistent with it. And another thing I would say is like, I love how you put like a monster blue belt, but I hope you're thinking about like, yourself, you know, how can you be the best blue belt you can possibly be? Because one thing that I wouldn't advise that much, not only in jiu-jitsu but also in life, is to be comparing against others, you know, like. So I always say like that my biggest opponent in my entire career, which is my biggest opponent nowadays as well, it's myself, you know, like it's always like me against myself, you know, like I'm battling against myself every single day, you know, like. And I think as humans, that's how we are, you know, like when you're waking up and lifting for our bed, if you have to wake up early, it's a battle. When you have to do something that you're not very excited and motivated to do, it's a battle. When you have to cut weight for the tournament that's coming, it's a battle. And it's always you against you, you know, like. So I would avoid comparing yourself with others, and I would only focus on yourself. How can you be the monster blue belt that you can be, you know? How can you be the best possibly blue belt that you can be? And my answer here, again, try to train jiu-jitsu as much as you can, being honest with yourself and trying to put as much intensity as you can. And oh, Bernardo, but what about lifting? What about doing wrestling or judo? Those are all complementary things. And I think you should definitely do those things. Like you should choose like either judo or wrestling and maybe do once a week. You should lift weights to make sure that your body gets strong and you can train more. Because many times I see people who doesn't lift weights at all and then their body gets pretty weak and then they get hurt and then they have to stop for 2 months. so they're not training as much. It doesn't make sense. So I think everything should be surrounded around the training as much as you can. What can you do that's gonna help you to train more? Lifting, sleeping well, eating well, train with very high intensity, but not that much that you're gonna get hurt. Try to learn how to listen to your body. And I would include like wrestling or judo as part of your training as well, because the match starts standing. So I think it's a big deal, which by the way, like this was one of the biggest changes in my career when I was competing, was the fact that I started doing wrestling. That was 2014, and then in 2015 was the best year of my career. Just because my sweeps became way easier, my pressure passing, I got more pressure, and I also had the option to start the match with a takedown, which made a big difference for me. So I would consider adding something like that as well to our arsenal, either wrestling or judo, because I think that's gonna make a difference. But maybe one more thing here, if I was on your shoes, especially like nowadays, considering the amount of content and knowledge that there is in the internet, I would try to study Jiu-Jitsu as much as you can as well. And that's why that's the reason that we have BJJ Fanatics. But I'm not even trying to persuade you here to buy any video on BJJ Fanatics, but I'm just saying like studying Jiu-Jitsu is a great way to get better at Jiu-Jitsu. You know, like, so I think like studying at Jiu-Jitsu at home does make a difference, especially considering how complex Jiu-Jitsu can be and how complex Jiu-Jitsu it is, you know, like it is a very, very complex sport. There's like hundreds or maybe thousands of moves and details and techniques. So doing a good homework and studying Jiu-Jitsu, I think can make a big difference too. And by the way, guys, if you were watching this video and you are you're in the Masters Division, I call it the old guys, my best-selling series at BJJ Fanatics is called Jiu-Jitsu for Old Guys. And I have Jiu-Jitsu for Old Guys for all type of subjects. So make sure to check that out at bjjfanatics.com. And anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope that helps you, the user who asked this question, and whoever is watching as well. I hope to see you in the next video. Os. Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.